Welcome everyone to this Expert AMA. We're joined with Ash and Whit, the founders of Bad Unicorn, which is basically the best worst ideas factory in town. A bit of a tongue twister, but so pleased to be joined by them. Really excited to hear about their journey, how it all started, where it's heading, and the lessons I've picked up along the way. But yeah, I don't want to be hearing my own voice because there's lots of juicy stuff that I'm sure Ash and Whit will be sharing. So without further ado, I'll pass over. And actually before that, just to say, we're going to have some Q&As after they've finished speaking. So yeah, get ready to ask some questions once they've finished presenting. But yeah, I'll pass it over to you guys.
Cheers. Thanks so much for that intro, Max. Wow, it's awesome to be here, and thanks everyone for joining us today. So like Max mentioned, we run a digital product studio called Bad Unicorn. I know I'm speaking to a room full of folks with 100 days of no code challenge. Just to like hands up, who's just kind of starting their 100 days of no codes like in the first 20 days or so? Okay. Who's kind of like midway, kind of up to like 60 days? And then who's kind of in that 60 to 100 day range? Okay, nice. And then who's like completed their journey full on 100 days? Okay, nice. So, oh, and Doc as well. So I know, so great to kind of see the ranges of experience. I know Max has hosted some like amazing AMAs up to this point. So we hope that Whit and myself could bring you a little something different, a little different perspective of what you could do with no code, especially as you're going through your challenge and then thinking of kind of what's next. So I'll start by introducing myself real quick. So my name's Ash. Despite the accent, I am originally from Canada, but now live in the UK, so that throws some people off. Yeah, I run a meetup here in the UK for startups, folks in the creative industry, and I also put on like startup weekends. Hey, KV, thanks for joining us. And I found no code, actually speaking of which, kind of through KP about just over a year ago. Got in touch with him and some fabulous makers in this 0 to 1 makers group, and have been kind of building ideas since probably the end of 2019. And then things kind of really kicked into gear when I met Max kind of earlier in 2020, and then joined the 100 Days of No Code Challenge myself, which I completed around summertime in 2020. And I'll let Whit hop in to kind of do a quick intro too.
Hey everyone, I'm Whit. I do Bad Unicorn with Ash, one of the co-founders. We've been doing it for about 5 months, kind of part-time. My full-time, I work for Techstars, which is fun, but like not nearly as fun as Bad Unicorn, which is something I kind of hope to do full-time maybe soon. Yeah, that's similar to kind of Ash's story. I joined this 0 to 1 makers group with KP. KP and I started like kind of just diving into no code. For me, it was kind of mostly Webflow, using like Webflow and Typeform to build some small sites. Then eventually built something called Random Pizza. Random Pizza was the kind of the first time I figured out like this is like my style, like my favorite type of ideas are like these weird, funny ideas that most people probably think are dumb, but I think are like kind of cool. And so the premise of Random Pizza was you subscribe, and once a month you get sent 2 random pizzas. And actually, KP, who's in the room here, was one of the first signups for Random Pizza. So from there, kind of evolved into Ash and I talking about Bad Unicorn, and eventually launching like our first, I guess at this point, like 9 products. Yeah.
Nice. And so we know kind of like there's actually, we were looking back on even those 5 months, and there was probably so many lessons learned. But we put together some like overview slides to kind of condense a bit of that into like a short little like overview of like what it's like to make a product studio and ship like a new no code product every 2 weeks. But yeah, again, we know that there's going to be probably lots of questions. So if there is something kind of throughout the slides and you've got a question, feel free to shout out about it. Max, I think, is going to be monitoring the chat for any questions. And then, yeah, we'll have time at the end to answer anything else that comes your way. So let me start by sharing my screen here. And hopefully everyone can see the present slides. Awesome, cool, good stuff. So yeah, again, thank you, Max, so much for inviting us for this. We're basically here to kind of share a little bit of like questions people have through their 100 days of no code journey. Once they've started building their first couple of projects, like they ask, what's next? What can I do with no code? Do I start a business with it? Do I keep developing skills in one tool? And so we're kind of here today to share a little bit on our experience with that. So as Whit introduced, we have a product studio called Bad Unicorn. It's a digital product studio, and every other Friday we launch like a new bad business. So we started the first kind of official launch was the end of August last year, and we're going to be releasing product number 10 this Friday. So the kind of ethos of it, like who do we want to kind of like pull into our ecosystem, is people who kind of support this creative, original thinking. People like actually having fun building products. And again, yeah, don't kind of take life too seriously. Have a little bit of sense of humor. And it's just, yeah, people you like to hang out with, have a drink with, and yeah, see what you could do with some crazy ideas. So ideally, what we like to do at the end of every day is make people laugh. And we do kind of like startup theme parodies of popular products, and you'll see in a little bit some of our examples. We do this primarily through just like a regular email newsletter, comes out every other Friday. And then our goal for this year in particular is to launch 21 products in total. So beating the 9 that we did last year, at least more than 2. So this is kind of where a little bit of story time comes in. So I know Max has kind of promised a number of things that we're going to be kind of revealing through this session. So I think I'll let Whit start with this one because he's kind of got more of the background to Bad Unicorn, and then I'll add a little bit of how I kind of came into things as well.
Yeah, so for Bad Unicorn, kind of what I said previously, like random pizza was one of the kind of inflection points where it's like, oh, like other people are interested in this like funny website copy, somewhat useful, somewhat just like a gag product. And I kind of realized like it was just like kind of a realize of my skill set, which is I can build some things in Webflow and using no code tools, and then I'm a decent like short form writer. Like I can write like small website copy. I'm awful at writing long form content, but kind of those two skills matched up. Then that's kind of where the idea of Bad Unicorn came up, and then also kind of inspired by a lot of other makers who ship at like a fast cadence, like a Peter Levels, who builds like, I don't know, probably 5-6 products a year, and who's pretty prolific. And so, yeah, the whole concept was, got these skills, I want to ship something at a predictable cadence, which kind of decided like every other week was that. And then Ash and I have been members of 0 to 1 for a while, and we kind of known like each other's habits, how we build, interacted on a bunch of different calls. So it's kind of funny. Ash and I, we've never met in person, but we have like a pretty good relationship from this digital meetup. And so it wasn't as much one of those, hey, like want to do this together type thing. Like when we just met, it felt like Ash was a friend and someone I've seen be consistent online. So yeah, that's kind of my side.
Yeah, no, actually, you pretty much covered everything there. That it was one really important thing to know of this idea of like having this smaller community where everyone's kind of behaviors or habits in that community is kind of the level you want to get to. And I think obviously, again, 100 days of no code is a perfect example of that through like those kinds of stand-ups. So yeah, kind of since the beginning of 2020, when I've been meeting up every Friday with the 0 to 1 makers group, we've seen what each other have been consistently sharing. And I think at this point, kind of in the summer, I was just finishing my 100 days of no code journey, and I was trying to figure out what to kind of work on next. And the last couple of things I was kind of finishing up was something called my no code journal, and it was kind of a teaching resource / tutorial for people starting out in no code. And I noticed one of the things that people responded to the most was kind of the fun, cartoony style, a little bit of the language of how it was presented. And when I saw, like, again, what Whit was doing with Random Pizza, I thought there was something there about tutorials or just kind of inspiring people to have more fun with no code, with a bit more kind of like cartoony, bright, more kind of playful websites. And that's where, again, it seemed to be a perfect match to work on Bad Unicorn together. So some of you in the group may have seen a few of the products that were released, but for those of you who haven't, I'll kind of cover 2, and then Whit will cover another 2 here. I'll start with Meme University. So this one is like a parody of Lambda School. So if everyone's familiar with that, basically they kind of help people get technical programming skills, and then it's basically kind of like a free course to help them find a job after that. So we just did a parody of this and said, why not a meme university for people who want to specialize in kind of the social media meme world? It's 2021 now, why not? We also did one called Unslack, which was basically building the UI of Slack within Google Sheets. And again, just thinking of why would you, all these new communities are starting up, why would you pay, you know, $5-10 per user per month for Slack when you could just recreate it in Google Sheets, which is ultimately free.
Yeah, and then a couple of the others. The first one we launched was something called Musk on Mars, which was it's a way where you can buy any day in the future where you're trying to guess when Elon Musk lands on Mars, like physically Elon Musk lands on physical Mars, and you can buy that day for $1, and it's kind of like lottery-like where you're trying to, I mean, you can make an accurate guess at the day, but anyways, if you pick the right day, you kind of get the whole pot of the like dollar days that have been purchased. And the other one is something called Slow, which is at slow.sale is the URL. And it's it was kind of around, we saw that Fast, if you know, at Fast on Twitter or fast.co is their URL. Like they just have been blowing up the last like 5-6 months. And so they're talking, they have got a great brand talking about one-click checkout. And we're like, what's a way to like, we can capitalize on this and make fast funny. It's like, well, we'll just make something called Slow that slows down your checkout process. Like Fast is making it more convenient to check out, and we're making your like wallet like grow by adding friction to the checkout process. Yeah, and that's kind of the whole premise of that one.
Yeah, so like we were saying, so up to this point, we're got nine products done, and we were just looking back kind of through all the stats, and that's one of the questions that people ask quite consistently, like where you kind of at with like all the numbers and whatnot. So just a little bit of a snapshot of what you can accomplish in 5 months. So all this organic, by the way. So over 1,800 email subscribers, 1,200 Twitter followers from like pretty much like a zero starting account at the kind of start of fall last year. 5 features on Product Hunt. So launching not just like I think before this, I only did 1 launch in 2019 with Whit, done over 6 or so with Bad Unicorn, 5 times featured on Product Hunt, once in their, couple times in their newsletter. And then actually one of the best things that we were really surprised by was like how supportive and like all the fans that have come from doing Bad Unicorn, just been meeting some amazing people, having some awesome conversations. And we're stoked to see all the response that people have been giving so far. Yeah, so that's where we kind of thought and had this like idea that there's some benefits to obviously having really good ideas, but there's also some weird benefits of having a business or building a product that has some of these bad ideas baked in. So Whit came up with this graph. I'll let him kind of explain this, but this is kind of one of our foundations that we found at Bad Unicorn.
Yeah, this is one of those graphs where like we thought of it, and like now I'm looking at it, I'm like trying to figure out what the graph means. But yeah, it's kind of this thing where like ideas, like the shareability of ideas, like there's a lot of like really good ideas where you can, it's useful, it helps. And those ideas like fall in, I feel like in this category where like it's not as like shareable. I think there's like two extremes where like incredible ideas that are like out of this world, like going to Mars type thing, like will get shared like crazy, which I guess remains to be told if it's good or bad idea. I'm on the good side, like a crazy good idea. And then there's these like bad ideas, which like no one's really taking advantage of, where it might just be probably not as shareable as the Mars example, but it's closer than like a kind of good idea to being shared around. So as far as like idea creations or building products, we've kind of found where like incredibly bad ideas are almost as shareable as like a incredible idea.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why this is, we think so important to no code makers is there's a lot of advocates right now of building an audience. If you're somebody, and obviously we've got an expert on the call here, and so in terms of kind of getting, if you're using no code to solve a problem, to kind of increase your exposure, kind of get that following, and not just have an echo chamber of one, but to actually get feedback from multiple people is going to help you grow and benefit, whether it's a product that you're making, whether it's like your own personal brand. So a lot of this goes into when we initially started was how do we start to grow and start to build an audience, and that's been probably one of the main focuses of Bad Unicorn this whole time, is growing a subscriber base, growing like a Twitter following, and then again, just like finding and interacting with more and more people who kind of like these funny, silly product ideas. A couple other kind of benefits that we found as well. Using bad ideas kind of gets you over this fear of launching. So also I noticed kind of at the beginning of 2020, when I did my first product launch on Product Hunt, I was like stuck on, after that, it was like, well, the next thing's got to be perfect. I need to build something even greater than that. And it probably took me 2-3 months of like tweaking on things in the background, not actually launching until I did like 100 days of no code and actually had that little bit of accountability that I finally get something out. Whereas when we know it's going to be a bad idea and you're kind of setting those expectations already, it's a lot easier to kind of launch and then get that feedback right away. We've learned way more in the last 5 months than I did at the start of 2020, 3 months, just kind of like tweaking things in the background and not really sharing and launching with anybody. And then kind of the third thing we have for bad ideas is that it's really easy to, if something doesn't work for whatever reason, it's not getting the response that you thought, it's really easy just to kind of park it aside, close it down, and then just start working on the next idea. You don't get that emotional investment of working on an idea for months and you feel you got to make it work, even though there's some costs associated with it. So again, a nice little perk that we found. Mm-hmm. Anything I'm missing here, Whit? Is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, nothing too much. Just kind of like on that like aspect of vulnerability, like that's something that is pretty interesting with Bad Unicorn, is like when we launch ideas, like people that have no context will be like, will comment on like a Reddit post or something like, this is stupid. And it's like comment back, like that's the whole point. Like we came up with this idea like where it's supposed to be dumb. And I guess like that engagement's like not awful. Like there's gonna be plenty of people that land on our websites and read through the copy and like, this is so stupid. Like why is this a website type thing? And that's like not necessarily like a bad thing. Like they're just don't know the context of like why we built, which I guess also kind of makes it like, more shareable. And so it's the bad idea model, like is if we just like made a product studio and we're like shipping good products, we'd still have that like kind of fear of shipping. Cause it's like, I tried to make this really good. Like, please people tell me this is good. For us, like we can ship it, and that we don't need, no one's really telling us like these ideas are good for the most part.
Yeah, totally. And so we're also like fully disclosed, like we're not the first people to discover bad ideas. There's probably tons of startups that could be described as a bad idea before. So here's just 4. Make this little interactive part. Everyone feel free to, in the chat, like kind of give your guess on any of these bad ideas, on what billion-dollar business did they kind of turn into.
Yeah, so some of these might be probably tough to tell, but some of these are a big deal.
Yeah. Max gets the joy of reading out the replies in the chat. Any good ones? All I see
We've
is the
got
screen
we've
right
got
now.
some big hitters.
Okay,
Airbnb,
Mm-hmm.
Telegram, Netflix, Snapchat, Slack,
Okay.
Blockbuster. I'm going to throw that in there, maybe.
Yeah.
Wicker. Will. I'm not sure. Yeah, Wicker. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's it for ideas.
Nice. And actually, so between all those, everyone got the like team effort, got all the right answers there. So we've obviously got strangers staying in your house turn into Airbnb. Obviously, having that MSN professional GIF sharing service at work with Slack. Obviously, texts that disappear when you send them Snapchat, and then everyone knows Netflix started just sending DVDs through the mail, which seemed super slow at the time, but yeah, obviously turned into one of the biggest streaming platforms. So there definitely is something, and when I've learned as well. So if you have like an idea that you're forming, it's not necessarily even that it's a bad idea. It may just need some it's just a matter of perspective or like reframing and to look like touch base with your audience too. So equally, you could have a really good idea, but then don't connect with the audience, and it just may be kind of shifting that perspective to start to reach the people that you need to kind of test out and validate any ideas that you're building with no code.
Yeah.
So just wanted to kind of get into like some high level FAQs that we normally get through Bad Unicorn. And then hopefully it answers more of the common type questions here. So tools is like everyone's favorite question to ask in the no code community, like what tools do you use? And so we put them on a slide, not necessarily to like show like how complex or whatever. I think most people know us here, this stack is like most folks are very familiar with all these tools. So it's more of just, I think, encouragement from us to say like, you can build 9-10 products in 5 months with very common tools. The tools themselves don't really actually matter, and actually using tools that more people are familiar with probably means that more people can like help you out if they've got if you have questions on building or get stuck anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, nothing too complex, no mystery tool or anything like that, just things you've seen. I'm sure Max has recommended through much of the 100 Days of No Code community already. Okay, so then we also get a question, okay, so tools are nice, but like what actually is your process? If you're kind of making products consistently on a regular basis, how do you kind of create a flow to kind of streamline those together? So I'll share a little bit of that process. So basically we have kind of this like catch-all for ideas. And so people can submit ideas on the website, and then we'll add ideas as well. So like the kind of key thing here is like, if you're kind of ever getting stuck or like don't know what to make next with no code, just kind of be open to having new problems to solve, or just like a way to take in that type of inspiration. So we take all this and we store it in Trello. This is, again, easy way for Whit and I to collaborate, not being in the same continent really, so that we could drop ideas kind of asynchronously whenever we get them, and then kind of also do assignments of like who's working on what task or uploading assets. Again, really simple tool, but works really well for us. Again, creating this second brain so that we don't have to keep a number of ideas on our mind all the time. We can just stash them, store them, and then draw from it when we need it. And then the next part is actually starting to get building. And so if we don't know exactly what tools we want to use at first, what we'll do is we'll take whatever inspiration was. So here you can see on the slides, we've got one of our projects was the inspiration from the Fast website, and the other one was the Airbnb website. So we just like take a screen capture of that, pull it into Miro, and then just start like adding post-it notes like crazy on like what kind of copy would go here, what section should this turn into. We used Miro to build like a whole murder mystery using gather.town. Definitely something that wouldn't have been possible without something collaborative that two people can work on at the same time, do a screen share. So this is, I think, a nice tip for anybody who's thinking of teaming up or doing any kind of code building with no code. Collaborative tools are like hugely valuable, really help the building process, and especially kind of starts that momentum. If you don't know, again, what tool to get started with, we learned so much once we actually start building in Miro. Whit's probably got some examples of, we had an idea, put in Miro, and actually turned into something different completely.
Yeah. We've definitely had some. Miro's been a place where like the idea like shifts and molds, and we start like solving the, well, I guess not really solving the Rubik's Cube, but yeah. And then from this stage, like from the Miro stage, typically Ash or I kind of decide like where this, like if for this idea, where should it be built? Should it be built in Webflow or should it be built in Card? And so kind of the website building process, it like just based on that, either Ash designs the website or I design the website. So it's kind of product dependent. And then later, once we do like one run through where it's like my best attempt at making a website or Ash's best attempt at making a website, we'll just give feedback and be open to kind of changing things about the site, whether that be copy or buttons or where an image is. Yeah, and that's kind of I guess how the process goes. And sometimes this happens a week before a week before Friday, and we do it like over the course of the week. And there's been times where it's happened like Wednesday, Thursday, midday, that type thing, and we have like a day to build. Like we have the idea in our head, but we still have to build everything and like bring it to life super quickly.
Yeah, totally. So like Will was saying, do a few different iterations once we kind of decide on that tool, and then once it's in somewhat of an MVP state, we kind of move on to that next step where we share it with like a smaller community of people that you trust to kind of give you honest feedback, but it's still very low risk. So got an example, 100 Days of No Code community, perfect. You all have that built in. Again, we use a lot the 0 to 1 Makers Club, fantastic group of folks, all experienced in like various different levels of whether it's no code design, business experience. So it's nice to kind of get a different perspective or viewpoint as well. And then that feeds back into our idea. So we kind of test it, fail fast, change whatever we need to. And then we do our launch to like our wider audience. So in this case, it's our Bad Unicorn newsletter. And again, keeping that consistent so that we know at least every 2 weeks we have a deadline that we're going to be sending that out to however large that mailing list is growing now. And then kind of the step 6 there is then taking that idea once you've taken it to your wider audience and launching it into a wider space. And we have a varying degree of stories from this. Some communities are nicer than others. Product Hunt, we've had some fun experiences with, but ultimately I've done a majority of our launches on there. They did give us a shout out in their newsletter for Unslack. Wits has some stories from different ones from like doing Reddit, indie hackers, but yeah, all fun distribution channels we're learning from.
Yeah, it definitely varies platform to platform, and our main thing that we hang out on is Twitter. So it's easy for us to launch on Twitter, and it's somewhat easy for us to launch our Product Hunt. I kind of feel like they're connected in a lot of ways. But then there's all over the internet, like there's indie hackers, there's Hacker News, there's Reddit, there's LinkedIn. And so, yeah, one thing that we're still figuring out is like, what's the right balance of like where we post, how we talk on these different platforms. And yeah, like Reddit and Hacker News are these places where it's a little more hostile. Like they super don't like self-promotion. So we're finding ways to like kind of talk about our product or share like lessons learned on all these different platforms.
Yep, totally. So we're constantly changing our formula, but here's kind of where it is right now. So I think at the start we were both like independently, we would spend months working on an idea, keep like very like in our own silos, and then just like overthinking it. We've kind of done away with that now, and the somewhat of a Bad Unicorn formula right now is, build it, launch it, make people laugh, get the feedback from it. Don't forget, obviously, having fun at the same time, and then just kind of repeating that process. And that's been great working for us so far, and that's probably what we're going to be continue with, and probably advise anybody else who's looking at doing some sort of a product studio or doing the 100 Days of No Code challenge and constantly launching and getting feedback on a regular basis. So in terms of takeaways, and we'll probably get some more into the questions. Probably kind of like the three main ones we want to highlight. So the first one is a little diagram of Parkinson's law, which we've definitely encountered time after time, which is no matter kind of what deadline you set for your product launch, time's always going to expand to fill that space. So that's why, again, the 2 weeks is kind of a blessing and a curse, that we know we're going to be launching something in 2 weeks, but it's also like, crap, we're launching something in 2 weeks. So it does force that something to actually be made and shipped out the door. And again, we learn a ton by doing that. But yeah, just something to keep in mind, having those little deadlines of accountability, again, even if it's just for your own communities and just to share with somebody else, is a really helpful thing. The second one here is building that shipping muscle over and over again. The first time you probably launch something like on Product Hunt, it's like a huge deal. There's a ton of preparation, ton of planning in advance, coordination, everything. And we just found, now that we've done it 6 times or so, we don't get as anxious or stressed out about it as we did the first time. And again, that all comes down to that shipping muscle. And then the last one we found is, yeah, definitely audience, community, find a group of kind of like-minded makers to kind of support you throughout the 100 days of no code. And then start to build your own audience of the people that you're trying to solve your own particular problem or provide your product to. Any other takeaways, Whit, that you want to add?
Nothing too much, but I guess one was kind of when we started Bad Unicorn, it was me and Ash had conversations where it's like, Bad Unicorn, like maybe bad ideas or our products won't resonate with anyone, but it kind of felt like a no-fail operation the way we planned it out, because it was this experiment where we were gonna force ourselves to launch new products every week. So even if 3 months went by and we got 10 subscribers, like our skills of building products, of marketing products, of shipping on Product Hunt, of probably growing like a small audience, like it was kind of like a no-fail like launch for Bad Unicorn. Because even if nothing happened, even if it was a total failure, we would be a lot better builders for it. So that's one thing where, like, when you're starting a project, like make sure, or if you can, like hopefully like personally you're getting a lot of like growth or lessons learned. Yeah, so I guess when it started, it felt like even if it was a total bust, we were getting a lot of like individual like learnings for Ash and I.
Yep, really good points there. All right, so I know everyone loves like a takeaway slide or like further reading. So like we wanted to share kind of like our inspirations so far in the space. And again, there's amazing people with like awesome insights on Twitter here. But some specific, I guess, for the viral idea space. Greg Eisenberg is one. He's a growth advisor at TikTok. For those of you who haven't come across Mischief, they're another kind of studio that are building viral digital products. For more of the physical side of things, there's a guy who does unnecessary inventions, so more 3D printed, kind of fast prototyping products. And then the last one there is, if you want just some like instant digital inspiration for like digital projects that are just kind of weird, but oddly shareable. There's a programmer who just kind of creates these like fun, zany little like apps. So just like a really quick thing you could check out for inspiration and try recreating with no code. So give everyone a second to write any of those down. But again, I'm sure Max is recording this, so anyone can watch it back. Yep, awesome. So yeah, so I think this brings us to the Ask Us Anything portion of the session. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'll stop screen sharing and then we can open up.
Thanks so much, guys. Learned a huge amount from those slides, so really appreciate it. Cool. So we've got some good questions coming in on the chat. Just for speed purposes, I want to make sure we get as many questions in, so I'll ask them if that's okay. But we've got one from Pablo around what's next for Bad Unicorn. Where are you heading? Are you opening up to work with people who have bad ideas? Would you consider partially crowdsourcing your ideas vault?
I'll let Whit answer this one. Yeah.
For next, I mean, like our main goal is just growing our newsletter base, growing our audience. Not too focused on making money. Like, luckily the products we're building are so lean that kind of the only real focus is just like growing audience, like growing brand, like possibly collaborating with others. So yeah, I guess on the bad ideas front, we have a way where you can submit all your any bad idea you've had, if you've had like a burning bad idea for a long time, you can submit on our website. And as far as collaborations, we haven't really collaborated with anyone, but like it's we're open to it. It's if it's the right fit, where it's like the idea, the product, the person. Yeah, so collaborations aren't something that we're like, no, we don't want any collaborations. Yeah, did I miss anything of that question? Oh, I guess what's next? I mean, other than growing the audience, like we said, right now it's part-time for both Ash and I. It would be awesome to get to the point where it was a full-time thing. It's super fun to build these products, and it's super hard to do it part-time. Or I think we'd just be better at it if we were able to do it full-time. So in the future, getting to full-time is in the future.
Awesome. Yeah, you'll get there easily. Yeah, you're on that path. Next question, really good one from Charlie. Any ideas that were just too crazy to launch, too bad to launch, that you have?
Ash, do you have any?
Oh boy. So we have like what we are specializing so far is like digital ones, and obviously things you could build with no code. Whit's been fantastic about kind of bringing a few of those products to life with merch, and like having some of the drops, you could buy t-shirts, mugs, hats, and things like that with them. So kind of getting into more of a physical, or like combining the product space. It would be awesome to have a big bad ideas laboratory with 3D printers and like printing and manufacturing, and then you could like model a lot of stuff up. So ideas that are kind of stepping into the physical space are a bit challenging for us, obviously just because of resources. But in general, we've got such a backlog of bad ideas, like dozens and dozens. If something is just not the right technical fit for us, we just like swap it out for the next available one. We've also been guided a little bit by like the holiday season, and like there's, at the end of the year, you had Thanksgiving and Black Friday, and like obviously, yeah, the New Year's and the holidays. So like all the products were kind of already just like pre-made in such a way that we knew because of that time of the year, we would make a product for that. But definitely there's going to be some weekends where there isn't a holiday coming up, so that we'll pull something else from the rest of our backlog.
Yeah, and then as far as ideas that are like too crazy, we've had ideas that we've come up with, and they're like too dumb. Like we're trying to come up with ideas that are like bad ideas that are also like kind of funny. We've like experimented with ideas, and we have hundreds in the backlog that are just like useless ideas, or something that's like, if we built this, like it would be not even entertaining to like go through. So we have like a bunch of those ideas. And then I guess as far as like, again, like too crazy ideas, a lot of our ideas like kind of are like borderline, like when we like take someone's logo or rebrand someone's website type thing. We are kind of like falling into this category where we're trying to figure out like what can we do legally as far as like trademark infringement, and we have something on our side as far as like parody law. Like for like Saturday Night Live, they have logos and they'll parody like Target or something, and that's like fair use. So there's always just like kind of a lot. And right now we're small fries. I don't know what would change if like one of these products like really like took off. But that's like always in the back of our head, where it's like, if we launch this, like, is this like technically like infringing on someone's trademark? So that's kind of, yeah, I guess also like with some of the ideas I thought.
Awesome. Next question from Priyanka. How do you set up delivery of the products you're setting up? isn't that going to create a lot of work for you later down the line? Yeah, is delivery pre-anchored for? Do you guys know what that means? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, delivery, like the product delivery. So for most of our stuff, that's kind of part of the model too. Where like we want to create ideas and build products we build them and we kind of tie them with the bow. And by that I mean we're not having to like go back to a project that we did 3 months ago and like hand ship something. So we'll try to set up processes where like for like our physical product that we send, we use something called Printful, which is like a drop shipper and then for most of our other products, they're like software products where you buy online and you get some sort of digital asset, or you get some sort of, I don't know, something digital where like there's no physical transaction. So with everything we do, we try to make sure to the best of our ability that we don't have to do anything by hand later. Because when we had 2 of these projects, that would have been some work. And when we have 50 like projects that are like out in the market, like that would be a lot more work. So we try to tie everything up with a bow.
Nice. From Mike, are there any ideas that are just too technically challenging for you to build with the current toolkit? And what were they? And I think this links nicely to KP's question as well, around outsourcing development. If there are ideas that are sort of beyond your capabilities, if there are such things.
I'll jump in with one quick example, and I think it kind of ties into this has maybe been a no code request for a little while, is a no code Chrome extension builder. So when we were launching Slow, it had, again, so you launch the idea, the landing page, and then in the first week, and then it gets a really good response, and then people are like, oh, I want this as a product. So that following week, when we're like, okay, how do we make this a Chrome extension? Can we do this in no code? And so kind of like, again, doing a ton of research, like how can you do an MVP Chrome extension? Luckily, Whit had a very good connection that built like a very light MVP of Slow. So yeah, Whit, you could probably share on how that kind of worked.
Yeah. So I had so there's plenty of ideas that we think of, and we're like, well, we could do this. We can't do this without someone like custom building it. And so we have kind of some of those ideas in the backlog. For the ones that are compelling enough, we'll like figure out a way to do it without no code. Like we'll find some hacky way to put it together. But it would be nice to have. It would be nice to have someone who's a fast web developer that could build custom things for us. And almost all of our products, we have like some type of thing where it comes up, and we're like, damn, I wish we had someone that could like build this small little like part of the product that would like we think would like up the experience a little bit. So yeah, it is like always we're always playing in the sandbox of no code, at least now, and occasional times we'll dip out and say, hey, like, could you help us with this, or like can we like find some code and like embed it to the website in some way. So we are pushing ourselves outside of no code, or like almost like low code, and still we're kind of only in this like no code space for probably 99% of the things we do.
That's the thing, like we never feel like absolutely blocked. It would be especially for like an MVP launch, we know that we can create something that no code will help with. But yeah, if it was something that we did want to scale, we know that there's people to reach out with if that was an option too.
Great. We had one from Will earlier around sort of GDPR. I'm sure. Yeah, it's quite an interesting one about how are you funneling all your signups into one subscriber list, and how does that work with GDPR? Is that allowed? I don't know. I'm sure it is, but just a question from Will.
Yeah, that's a really good one, especially living in the EU. I'm very much somewhat technically Europe, very much aware of that. I think also kind of what no code does is that each kind of platform that you're using almost has a little bit of that built in already. So instead of you spun up the website or app complete with custom code, you would almost have to consider those things and add them in. Whereas when you're using some no-code platforms, like email subscribe lists, for example, they'll have like built-in little draggable blocks where you can like opt into GDPR or like any of these privacy policies. We actually, with one of our recent products, got an email from Twilio about privacy policies. So they're, these companies are also very good at that. If you're using their services, that you're compliant with them, so that they'll send you a little reminder to say, oh, hey, by the way, just send us the link for the privacy policy to get like approved to start sending stuff, or to start like using any parts of the platform. So yeah, definitely a consideration. The main email list, MailerLite, has GDPR kind of built in for that as well too. But yeah, we try to avoid collecting any more user details than necessary. We also prefer not to like collect people's data without their consent, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's that's super important. But as makers, I think Doc's left the call, but actually, like, being on the right side of the law with creating these products is quite hard when we're all just sort of putting things out there and stuff. So yeah, it's a good topic. So we haven't got any more questions in the chat, but I feel like yeah, this is a perfect time for anyone, if you want to just come off mute and yeah, sort of ask any questions that you've got that haven't already been asked.
I'll just follow up real quick with the kind of legal things too, because it is kind of a learning lesson. I think I saw a question about like what kind of things have you guys learned, or like what's been a fun surprise. I think with Musk on Mars, that was kind of our first even kind of phrasing that it wasn't necessarily like a lottery. You're still using skill to like select a date, and if you're like a full-on astrophysicist, you could like calculate what day Elon can land on Mars. But using like a payment service like Stripe or PayPal, if you look in their terms and conditions, they've got strict rules for like lottery systems and gambling and things like that. So not that like was our intent with that kind of product too, but what we definitely did learn there is that if you do have a product that you're launching that you're not 100% familiar with, definitely do it a few days in advance, especially if it's your first account that you're creating with them. So we learned that with Musk on Mars. We had another something like that happen with Slow, where we submitted the Chrome extension to the Google store, but then it takes a few days to approve, right? So if anyone's planning a launch, make sure you're sending in your developer accounts or any updates to your app or your code days in advance, so it actually has time to be approved, so you meet that launch day deadline. And then yeah, the most recent one with Twilio, again, what I think mostly what kind of triggers just the automatic alerts really is that, again, since Whit and I are different time zones, it kind of looks sketchy that if like obviously one of our accounts is logged in the United States versus England, and they're like, oh, normally this would be hacker activity, but we're like, no, we just work in 2 separate countries. That's all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really insightful stuff. Yeah, please come off mute, guys, if you've got any more questions. Mike?
I have a question, guys. Yeah. If you would ever see the opportunity to build something that is serious or that has like a good idea, would that be too boring for you guys to do, or just to do like a regular product studio? Or would you consider that if you see the potential?
It might be now. It might be now. Like that would, like I guess previously, like I was building like projects that were like I mean like serious, and like I was trying to like, I don't know, build products that like I could monetize, I could grow, and yeah, I don't know what that would look like. I guess I haven't built like another product that's like super serious since. So it maybe it would come post like Bad Unicorn or separate from Bad Unicorn when I try to build something and I'm like shit, this isn't as fun. Like usually like I'm writing like funny copy or
right,
something like that. So
I guess go into accounting software or something.
Yeah, it might. If I build like something like B2B SaaS, like I don't know, the copy I'm writing is totally different from the copy we're writing for Bad Unicorn. So, but yeah, that's a good question. How about you, Ash?
Yeah, well, I think what we're finding in this space is still kind of so new, and all this kind of combination whether it's viral products or like this drop culture thing, that it seems like there's still like unlimited ideas at this point. So I'm really enjoying this space right now. I think, yeah, I think somewhere in the future, there's probably like a great product that allows you still to be creative and like come up with like new challenges to different problems. But I think right now this is a really fun space to be in, because there's so many possibilities and ways you can exercise like your different skills. So yeah, this is what I'm enjoying for the time being.
Okay, I got a question. First of all, great presentation. So great to see both of you, sort of reflect and share things that even like being close with both of you, there's things that I was surprised and learned today. So kudos. Two questions. First one, having been at the receiving end of some of your bad, crappy ideas, and I have battle scars to prove, how many more do you have? Do you have a record of all of your bad ideas documented somewhere? Is it coming out in a Gumroad book?
We have a backlog. I don't even know what the number is, Ash. Like,
oh, it's at least 50, 60 of them. Yeah.
Oh, I would say more than that. I would say like when I scroll, like I used to scroll, we have like it's a Trello board. And so I used to scroll like twice to get to the bottom of it. And now like, it takes me like 15, 20 seconds to like scroll to the bottom of this Trello board to find the like most recent idea. So we do have a bunch of these. Yeah.
So 21 in 2021 is definitely achievable.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Probably more.
Right. Okay. So part two of my question is, this is a bit more serious. Like, have any brands approached you both yet? Like, I would imagine if like there was a brand that's trying to generate some buzz in the founder/maker community, it would make sense for them to sort of partner up with you and sort of like do an experiment, almost like a stealth experiment initiative. And I think that would be a cool way to generate buzz.
Yeah, we made sure when we parodied Fast's website, we made sure to track like all of the analytics, because that was just something we did just for us, like we thought it'd be funny. But it turns out like that was something that was pretty good, and they were blowing up anyway. So like us, what we did probably didn't help that much, but it does help their brand, where like they tweeted out our website and like we've got a competitor in Slow, and like they were good sports as far as like acknowledging the parody. And so it might not work for every startup, but there could be some that like almost like a engineer in his marketing, where we're their engineer in his marketing funnel, where we'll build a product that's adjacent or competitor or the opposite or the same. It basically just is part of their marketing budget, where hopefully it's like, the plan is that it's like evergreen content, because even in this Fast example, like we have some bad unicorn fans, and I guess they're also Fast fans, that will tag us in Fast things like months later, and they'll be like Fast will tweet something where it's like, hey, like what's a cool like feature for Fast that you'd want, and we have like 3 people commenting like slow.sale or like bad unicorns like slow, like you should add that feature type thing. And so it's pretty cool that like we spent $50 to build that product, and like months later for their brand, like people are still like associating it. So I think there is like an engineer in his marketing play.
Yeah, I think there's another AI potential one, but it might still be under wraps. So yeah, we'll have to disclose that at a later date. But thanks for the question, KP. Yeah.
I had a question just on collaboration, because it's not really spoken about enough in no code, and most people go it alone. But I'm seeing more and more people, joining forces, and obviously you guys are a perfect example of that. So I just wondered what your process was in doing that. How do you guys connect? I'm guessing 0 to 1, but how do you guys like take the leap and actually say yes to it, instead of it just being, oh yeah, we'll collab one day, yeah, that sounds good kind of thing? So yeah, really intrigued on how that process came about. Yeah,
as far as kind of 0 to 1 was kind of the like inception of Ash and I's like relationship, talking about our products we're building. I think one thing that's pretty important with collaborations is you gotta find people you can play like long-term people that you can play long-term games with, and there's plenty of people that can build something like once and that's like pretty cool, but like if they're not consistent, like in a partner and a co-founder, like you need someone who's gonna be consistent. And so like Ash and I's relationship, we're able to kind of figure out that both of us are like playing this like long-term game, and we're both like long-term people. It's not 1 month we're like super in on it and then 3 months later we're like doing something else. So I think that's like something that's pretty important when you have a partner. It's like they need to be good and they need to be like prolific, like long-term.
Yeah, I definitely echo that. Like, and again, this is, I don't know if it was like a full-on missing piece for like other different type of like tech communities or just like communities on the internet with like people with hobbies, is that having almost like a ritual where you're meeting up on a regular basis and you're kind of, again, being accountable to a whole group of people and saying, this is what I'm doing. It just kind of builds that trust. And it's a lot easier to kind of take that leap, say, you know, I'm going to build this with a group of people, or another co-founder, and like there's a low risk that, you know, something's going to happen and, you know, somebody's going to get busy and it's just going to kind of flop from there. I think the best way to kind of get early insight of that is just joining this community and seeing what people do on a consistent basis, not necessarily just what they say, but what they actually do. So again, nice bonus of 100 Days of No Code community, because you're already pretty much there.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. Thanks for sharing more on that. Really intriguing. I think we've got time for one more question, and then I'll just let you guys share some final words if you have any. And yeah, we'll go from there. But has anyone got a final question for Whit and Ash? Did I see a hand there, Priyanka? No, that wasn't a hand. No, okay, cool.
No, we answered them all. No one asked what Whit's favorite Disney movie is yet. Come on, we're still on some few left. Yeah, no, it's all good. You can say that for a follow-up session. Oh, there you go. Wait on the spot.
Oh, I don't know. I really enjoyed Moana. That's been a recent one that I loved.
We can't leave Ash out now. Ash.
I definitely confess that I celebrated the 20th anniversary of Emperor's New Groove last month and made spinach puffs with friends, and we all hopped on a 3-way Disney Plus call to like watch the movie in sync. So yeah, definitely did that.
Did you set up this question just so you could answer it like this?
I put a lot of options on the slides. No one took any of them. So just threw that out there. But
that's a good answer.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah.
You do know this is being recorded, Ash.
Oh. Can you just cut? Can you cut from the last 5 minutes? Thanks.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it can do that. The software I'm using. But,
oh no.
But yeah, cool. Final words from you guys before we close up.
Yeah, just want to say thanks everyone for listening. We really appreciate it. As far as I guess more content from us, both of our Twitters are in our little name thing, and then you can follow Bad Unicorn at Bad Unicorn VC on Twitter. Then if you want to sign up for the newsletter, it's badunicorn.vc.
Yeah, and yeah, totally just echoing that. Thanks again so much, Max, for hosting these sessions. I know sharing so much with the 100 Days No Code community. It's so awesome to see you all come out. Again, thank you so much for your time and hearing about this crazy, wacky kind of roller coaster that we've had for the last 5 months. But yeah, we're totally open. If you have any other questions, Twitter, hop over to Bad Unicorn or either of our DMs. Happy to answer anything else. But yeah, huge thank you again.
Yeah, cheers guys. Have a good week and see you all on Slack or Twitter somewhere. Thanks guys.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much.
Okay, bye.
Cheers.
Bye.